Maria whakalomalahi atu. Welcome to the Daily Examiner and talanoa sao on our Friday Night Live. Welcome. Great to have you on board. Great to see you. To sort of see you, great for you guys to see us, and maybe we can engage in a bit of talanoa, especially talanoa sao. So thank you for joining us. Absolutely wonderful to see you there. So first and foremost, a little bit of housekeeping. Anything that you want to bring into the discussion, absolutely go for it. We'll make sure that we can have a bit of a chat about it. We'll see if we can bring it into our talk, and it's really important to do that. Also, if you want to do share, we've got some really cool things coming up. For example, you may not know, but Franklin Graham, the son of the legendary Billy Graham, is here in New Zealand, and the Daily Examiner, we have got an interview with the man himself, and that'll be coming up next week. So we're really excited about that. We've also got some other episodes coming up. What is a man? What is the definition of masculinity? So some really cool stuff heading there. But without further ado, let me go bring on my co-host for tonight's evening. It is Fuiavailili ala lima. Fuiavai.
Talofa lava. Malo. Ia whatalofa atu pa ia mani mamalu wa mwhai na whatasi mai le nei a fiafi. Ia tato po kalame ma sani lava le nei o le talanoa sao ma o lo ingoa Fuiavailili ala lima. Talofa lava. Welcome everyone, and it's good to see you, brother.
Awesome. So there are some big things that we want to discuss. There are some things in New Zealand that I think we want to have a chat about, but let's start with, of course, the big news, and it is international news, which, of course, are the midterm elections in the US. Fuiavai, can you help explain to us what are the midterm elections? What are they, just for our people out there who don't know?
So before I start, I just want to make sure I got my... Yeah, baby.
Hey,
you see the date, 2024, okay?
We'll be bringing him up, for sure.
So... First and foremost, the midterm elections are obviously, everyone knows about the presidential elections, but the midterm elections are the elections that are midway between. It's like the halfway point of the president's full term. So when the president's full term is 4 years, so 2 years is when every 2 years is when they have the midterm elections. And during that time, it's usually the party that's in power, whoever's in power. This is the way it's usually been done. The people who are in the White House usually have control of the White House, and if they started out with the Congress, control of Congress, then eventually, after when it gets to the midterms, it moves in the direction of the other party. And then from that point on, they usually have a term that they call the president, and they call him a lame duck president. So you should be familiar with that term. Lame duck meaning basically that the president does not have the same power because he doesn't have the backing of Congress to enforce the laws of the that he wants to, or things that he wants to have passed. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So just to bring up just a quick one, we've got Clara there who's saying that it's frozen. It seems like, let us know if it is freezing, of course. Again, we might have some bandwidth issues going on. So far, from what I'm hearing in the other ear, seems okay so far, but we're not sure. So hopefully it goes well. So, Fuiavai, you're saying these other things about lame duck president, whoever the incumbent is, as in those who are already in power. So midterms, from what you're saying, that's every 2 years through the presidency, which of course is a president term is 4 years. So halfway between, then they do that. What are they voting for in the midterms? What are they voting for specifically?
So the midterms is usually when you have, of course, you understand that the United States has three major branches, right? This is the balance of power in the United States is the executive branch, the judicial branch, and then the legislative branch. So the legislative branch is Congress, and usually Congress is made up of two groups: the House of Representatives and the senators, or the Senate. And then the judicial is made up of the courts. So that's where the Supreme Court comes in and all that. And then the executive is the president and his administration. So in order to run things correctly in the country, they have like these checks and balances. So usually, if one group tends to be a little bit too strong, and they have a check by having like the legislative branch there trying to check the president if the president's trying to go all out and crazy like that. Um, this past term, the last two terms, Biden, who is in the White House, is a Democrat, and he's had the backing of the Congress because the Democrats have controlled both the Senate and uh, the House of Representatives, and so
So just for those guys, for our people who still don't fully understand, that you're saying that there are three seats of power. Each one of them can sort of stop the other from having overall control. And you're saying the executive branch, which is the president,
yes,
the judicial branch, which is the Senate, I believe,
no, judicial is the courts, like the
courts.
Supreme Court.
Supreme Court, so the Supreme
Yeah,
Court of
and
US. So if you know, perhaps the Roe v. Wade decision that was made
that's
recently,
right.
where they've actually taken away, that was the Supreme Court, the overall area. And my understanding is that they interpret also the Constitution issues that
That's
might
right.
come up.
That's
All
right.
right, and then you've got the last one, which is the legislative, and that is the Senate. Is that one the Senate?
That's
Is
right.
it?
That's the House of Representatives and the Senate. Those are
Okay,
the
so
two.
so you got three sets of power, of which they are a check and balance over some, which also can include totalitarian types of dictators, rulers, and that. Now you've also got in that space, you've got the Democrats, who are basically the Labor Party of the US, and then you've got the Republicans, who are, I suppose, the national or the stereotypical national, who what national is supposed to be as well. So that's sort of how it goes.
Yeah. So
Right.
the difference
So
the difference between the Republican Party in the U.S. that I found and the National Party here in New Zealand is that the Republican Party actually has a conservative base. They have a conservative base, and that's the group that President Trump has been speaking to and has been appealing to. And then they have the other people who are more kind of so. Before I continue, well, I'll just put it out like that, but I have a little bit more to say
yep.
regarding that.
Right. So, okay, right. So they are important because it will be a very strong pivot of power in the US. And of course, what happens in the US does end up coming to New Zealand, whether we want it to or
Absolutely,
not, whether we like it or
absolutely.
not. All right. So when you think about gender ideology and a lot of the abortion areas and issues, the progressivism that's flooding area, climate change, trade deals, economics, it actually, for us, it is actually coming from the US mostly. China, very much, we are very we have a economic need for China currently, but a lot of the economics and social and cultural things come from the US. That's why it's quite important. Now,
That's right.
I want to bring up something which has come. So just for our Kiwis again, the Democrats are blue and the Republicans
Republicans are
are
red.
red. So
That's right.
when you see MAGA hats and all that sort of stuff, that's why the hats are red. In New Zealand, of
That's right.
course, the left wing is red and the supposed right wing is blue. All right, so just to help that one. And I just wanted to bring up that the latest report that we have, is we're going to put it up there. Have a look at this. All right, so this is the latest report that we have. This is the balance of power currently in the system that is present. All right, so let me just get this up there. All right, there we go. Okay, so you can see there that you've got your Democrats or your Labor equivalent are currently at 192, and your Republicans currently are at 211. Balance of power, it looks like it is the Democrats are on 48 and the Republicans are on 49. So I think that is very, very interesting right now. So, Fuiavailili, are you able to help us with this picture? What is this picture sort of
Yeah.
saying
So
to us?
basically, what you're seeing is what the contests that have already been called. Okay, but the one thing I would say to people is that a lot of what's going on right now is just like what happened during the COVID. Is there are people who are trying to control the narrative of the midterms. To
Mm.
tell you the
Uh,
truth, the Republicans had a very outstanding midterm, but it just depends on who's telling the story
okay.
and
Well,
what
well,
it
well,
is
oh,
that
sorry.
that you see.
So before we get into those reasons, this picture
Yeah.
here tells us, what is this picture telling us in terms of math?
Well, first
Is
of
it the
all,
Republicans winning?
yeah. So the Republicans are winning. They supposedly. I mean, it's said that they need 218 seats in order to take the House. So far they have 211. That's what it's saying, and Democrats only have 192.
Hmm.
Democrats have lost something like 7 to 9 seats so far, and Republicans have gained those seats. And the point that I was trying to make up is that these are these are part of the mainstream news information, and I've been spending the last couple of nights listening and following folks who are conservative, and I've been listening to what it is that their narrative is, and it's actually a lot better than what you're hearing, and that's the reason why I was saying
But
don't
these
listen to
numbers
everything. In
are,
fact, it might be a good.
but
These are
these numbers
incomplete
are
right
accurate,
now.
right? Right.
Uh, if in the end, I'll just tell you what it is that what I heard, that the final tally should be somewhere along the lines of Democrats having 211 seats. Right now, it's only 192, but they're going to keep gaining seats. It should come up to like about 211, and Republicans should get something like 224 to 25 seats.
Okay. So,
Something like that.
what is these? So what we're looking at, this, what I've got here is the best data available. So this is not a poll. This is what they've got currently going on with
That's
their
right.
numbers
That's
so
right.
far. Now, can you just tell us just briefly, what is the House and what is the Senate? So I'm looking at this. What does this mean to me? We're not American. What are we looking at here? What is the House and what is the Senate?
So the House and the Senate are two different bodies of government. The number of representatives in the House are based solely on the population size of the state. So the more population size you have, the more representatives you have in the House.
Ah, okay. So if you've got Texas and you might have California, like California might have a few more, and a place like maybe Wisconsin might have a few less. Is that sort of what we're looking at there?
Yeah, absolutely. It's based on population size. So
Okay.
for one election, maybe last year's election, you could have like maybe a certain number in this state, and then when
Hmm.
those people have moved out of that state and they go into this other state now has inherited a certain number of seats based on the population size,
Got
and
it.
that's
And the
how.
House. So, what sort of decisions does the House make in real world?
So the House is known for having the purse of the country.
Ah, got
So
it.
basically, it's important for the president to communicate his will to the House, because if
Mm,
he has like a desire to actually push anything through, he's going to need funding for it. And these are the people that he has to go see, not the people over here in the Senate, but the people down in the House. And in the House, we have Nancy Pelosi, who is known as the Speaker at this
right.
time. And the Speaker is basically just like we have in Parliament. They're like the majority, whoever the majority is in the House, they have their speaker who decides the agenda of the House.
And so I am aware that the House does have committees. So if they've got a committee, for example, on schooling, they might have it on the charter schools. Is that correct? And so that committee will have maybe funding streams through the U.S. Treasury, or the U.S. government, what taxes they do, and then they could decide in those committees as to what to give to a certain project or an idea. Is that about right?
Well, they have committees, definitely have committees in all of these different places, and they do decide what actually takes place. Uh, a lot of times, what they decide may not take place. It just depends on whether or not the person whoever chairs these committees, they are very powerful. They have that
Mm.
ability to kind of like squash anything that they don't agree with. Kind of like
Right.
the president having a veto power.
Mm.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. And the Senate, of course, that is actually directly related to any decision making that gets made from the I suppose from that legislative area. Would that be fair?
So basically, in order for something to become a law, it actually has to go through both the Senate and the House. During the time that it's being
Ah.
pushed through each of these, it's known as a bill.
Mm.
And until it becomes a law, that's when it comes in front of the president and the president signs it. Once the president signs it, he basically has made that a law, but it's gone through both the House and the Senate. And usually, if the House is from another party, like the Democrats, and the Senate is with the Republicans, then they usually have to kind of like hammer out the differences that they have between the two. I don't agree to this, we agree to that. And then they keep passing their version on to the other side, and the other side has to sign off on that. And then finally, it'll be sent through to the president. The thing about the Senate that's very important, though, is that the Senate also has the ability to confirm any of the president's nominees. So if the president chooses anyone inside his cabinet, then basically it's it's the Senate's job to have you'll see them like have like some type of a court session or something like that, a Q&A session, and they'll be asking these questions of that individual. So anyone who is now a Supreme Court justice, anyone who is in the president's cabinet, anyone who has any type of position like that, it's all because the Senate has
Mm.
been the one to, yeah.
Okay. Oh, okay. I know that's really interesting. Now, by the way, just for our audience out there, the you may not have noticed, but this is a live. What our graphic that we've got up at the moment is a live graphic. It is actually updating every 5 or so minutes, and so right now it's at 9:02 p.m. And that's something that is, of course, New Zealand time. That's putting it in there. All right, so it's really good. Without further ado, we've got our next, our other co-host. Hey, she's coming in late. Hey, talofa lava to Liao Tilsley.
You caught me. I was going to leave. No.
Wow.
I was thinking you guys, you guys had it like, I'm sort of at my my sister's place, so it's a little bit wonky, and I've been trying to get the camera right, but
I can see that. Whoa. My VR's going all wonky now.
Oh,
Welcome.
sorry. That was me. How is everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Nice to see everybody.
Good. So we are discussing, of course, the midterms, and it does look like the Republicans are winning overall. This is now there's been a whole bunch of drama going on left and right, but Liao, what's your take so far on the midterm elections in terms of what's going on currently?
All we can do is hold on to hope that there will be some sort of sanity, to this all, because from what we can see, there's been rigged things for a little while now. So to have Republicans, take it, who knows? I'm hoping for the best. I'm really hoping that there'll be some sanity back into politics. Well, we haven't got much of that here in New Zealand, so let's hope that it'd be like that in America.
So, having said that, I wanted to just add this to what it is that we're talking about here. So, as you know, I just showed you the cap that says President Trump on it, and usually, whoever is the president of the United States actually is the leader of the party. So right now, Biden is considered the leader of the Democrat Party. President Trump was the leader of the Republican Party. And even now, despite the fact that he's not in the White House, President Trump is still having rallies. He's still from throughout the past couple of years since he's not been in office. He's actually had 50 rallies so far. He's
Right.
had 50 rallies, and he's raised millions of dollars for people. And what's taking place right now is what we're seeing is that you've got the Democrats who can't agree with anything that they're doing, because as you can see, once they're in power, now all of a sudden they've done all of this stuff that's messing the country up. Well, then you have what I would probably call the Uni Party. The Uni Party are people who are from the Republican Party. Parties
Oh,
does, and
there we go.
so they go along with that. I don't know if you guys were able to hear me through that connection, but what I was saying basically is that there is a Uni Party, a party that consists of people who are both Republican and Democrat, and they're kind of like working together to try to keep things going.
It's
The
interesting. I
status
didn't think
quo.
that was. That's odd.
Can I ask something? Is it true
Yeah.
that everyone that Trump has endorsed has gotten in so far?
Actually, President Trump has got 95% of the people that he's endorsed as of election day got into to office.
Wait.
So in
Are you
that
are you
sense, there
talking about
was
the
a red wave.
midterms?
Yes, talking
Yes.
So
about
are you
yesterday's elections.
So as of yesterday, you're
95%.
saying that 95% of the ones that he endorsed. Now,
Yes.
don't get me wrong. I do not believe mainstream media, but there's a lot of verbiage going on out there that is basically saying that it wasn't a red wave. And so far, if I do look at that, right? If I do look at that, let's have a little gaze here. If I look at this, that is not a red wave. Now, don't get me wrong. I think it'll be great. I want, you want more of that red wave. Absolutely. But that's not a red wave. And I also am curious to know there looks like that's not 95% of if you look at the Senate, that one there where it's got that diagonal. Am I right in assuming that the diagonal color is actually those who have not been fully counted yet?
Yeah, that's right. But this is the point. You got to hear the entire narrative, and this is why I'm saying listen to the conservative narrative, because if you listen to the conservative narrative, you'll find that it's different from the narrative that these people are pushing. So the conservative narrative is basically the one that you should understand is to Lao's question. President Trump did not endorse every single Republican who ran for office. He didn't endorse all of them, But of the people that he did endorse, 95% of them were elected on election day. So, yes, he has that kind of a record. In fact, some people thought that there should have been more that he did. He should have done more. But the truth of the matter is, when you've got people who are in leadership, such as Kevin McCarthy and McConnell, you know who McConnell is. He's the guy in charge of the Senate. These guys have control of the situation at this point in time, because President Trump is not in office right now, and so what they decide is where the party goes in terms of where the monies go and all of that kind of stuff. So they kind of like pick and chose certain individuals to give the backing of the Republican Party and put funding behind those people, and it turns out that those people lost. But President Trump is being blamed for those losses, and that's an unfair thing for people to do, because as I said before, President Trump did not endorse all of the Republicans who ran in it. And then the other thing that I wanted to make is that the fact that there's still counting going on today at this particular moment. I mean, look at what's going on in Arizona. Arizona, they're talking about this is going to go like up to 5 days, maybe even into Thanksgiving and possibly even December, the counting. But the point that I'm trying to make is that look at Florida. Florida, within 4 hours of the polls closing in Florida, they had the winners of those elections announced. And the thing is that Florida is 3 times more the size of the population of Arizona. So why is that? You know,
So,
and it
so
makes
okay,
you wonder.
so you're saying Arizona in terms of now? I believe it's Mark Kelly who is the Democrat there. Is that about right? But it's Blake Masters. Blake Masters is the person
That's
there
right.
who Trump did see. So endorse.
That's
And
right.
so that one's actually failed. Is that about right? Is that correct?
No, it's still going. They're still counting.
Still going.
So
Still
this is what
counting.
I'm saying. Don't listen to the narrative, because I've been looking at so many places that said that the this person lost, or this person lost, and this person lost, and in actuality, they haven't finished counting the votes.
So,
And all
but
of
that
these areas
what?
are usually in. Yeah.
So but what I'm saying is that therefore suggests to me that it's you can't really say 95% of Donald Trump's people have won, because if it's still being counted, whichever way it goes, we can't say that yet.
95% of the people who have been reported their results in the contest
So,
have been
okay,
reported. Okay,
So the vast
so listen,
clearly then, right?
listen to the amount that comes to about 174 to 9 losses, 174 wins to about 9 losses.
Right.
That's why it's like about 95%.
Right. Okay. Oh, okay. Because of course, the Fetterman, Dr. Oz battle, of course,
Yeah,
is
so people are emphasizing the high profile ones that were part of President Trump's endorsement. And to tell you the truth, I think a lot of people are kind of like wondering how it is that Fetterman actually got in, because of the fact that this guy is someone who actually had a stroke just days, I mean, maybe weeks before the election. And the question is whether or not he's, that same question that people ask of President Biden. Joe Biden, is he capable? Is he capable? Is he healthy enough to carry on to hold the office? And the answer would be probably not. So
okay. All right. Now there is something that I want to bring up, and look, I like to have this is talanoa sao, so let's.
yeah,
This is going to be a bit of a, tight one. So I want to bring this up. hey, I like to bring up some drama stuff. All right, people. So, so Trump, of course. So DeSantis won. I really do like DeSantis. He's clever. He's smart. He is strong. He stands up for the children. I love that. I think that's actually something which is really good. Now, I'm going to show you something. This is from the Daily Wire. This is not from a Democratic era. This is not.
Yeah, you're going to show the thing where,
media.
President Trump says something about DeSantis.
Absolutely.
I know it's already all over the internet.
I understand that. Internet. But this is from the Daily Wire. And here, Trump attacks DeSantis. I got more votes than him. All right. So, I just want to pop this up there. All right. So this is what we've got up there in that area. And he has said this. So this is a quote that he's got. Now that the election in Florida is over and everything went quite well, shouldn't it be said that in 2020 I got 1.1 million more votes in Florida than Ron D got this year, 5.7 million to 4.6. Just asking. So I don't think that's a good idea. I got him the nomination. He didn't get it. I got it. And I thought that he could have been more gracious, but that's up to him. Okay. So thoughts on that one?
Well, my thoughts is that Trump is human. That is one thing we're going to have to understand about him, is that he's going to make mistakes and he can voice things. This is the guy that got removed from Twitter when he was president. If he has to say something and he's entirely human, he can't be perfect and everything. I just think the graciousness needs to be done to him as well. That's just my thought.
Cool. Awesome. Fuiava.
I agree with what Liao just said. The truth of the matter is that I think the reason why he said that about DeSantis is because DeSantis would not be governor right now if it weren't for President Trump. Trump did all of the stuff that Trump just did, endorsing all these people. Ron DeSantis was one of those people who he was endorsed by President Trump the last time. And then at that time, Ron DeSantis was down by 2 points in the polls. After President Trump came and endorsed Ron DeSantis, all of a sudden, Ron DeSantis was way ahead in the polls. So I kind of understand the sentiment that President Trump has, but I truly do believe that, yeah, I agree with what Liao just said. He's human. He's human.
No, fair enough. And I think that's absolutely fair enough. I think that I actually agree with a comment that did come up where Bill has said that I believe DeSantis got his votes without Trump's help. Now, I think that he did get in because of Trump, but I do believe that his votes that he got, the powerful hit that he got, was without Trump's help. And that's because he stood up, he's defended freedom,
this time around. This time around, I agree with you.
Here's what I don't like. I like both Trump and I like DeSantis. I don't think it is a good strategy, nor do I want it to be a fight between those two. And I think that, I think there is, I really hope that they can get it sorted. I have looked at, for example, I've looked at Matt Walsh's poll, and I've looked at even Stephen Crowder's. They've sent a few polls out there to obviously conservatives and right wingers, and it's overwhelmingly, again, these are non-scientific polls, but it's overwhelmingly for DeSantis to sort of step up. So it'd be interesting to see what happens. I like both men. I think they're both really awesome, but I don't want them to fall into some horrible infighting, which is going to go really bad. Why do we have to hand that back to what I think is definitely the enemy of the unborn children, groups who are anti-free speech. I'm hoping that their discussions are going to be a lot less caustic than Trump usually does. As much as I think he's awesome. Steph has actually put up a great comment there. Absolutely. We need them to work together. Absolutely right. And I think that is. Now, ABC ZX1 has actually... let me just bring us this one. ABC ZX1 has brought up 2024 is too early for DeSantis. He should wait until 2028. So I guess that you guys would definitely agree with that one.
So what I was going to say is that that we don't know. President Trump is actually going to make an announcement on Tuesday next week at Mar-a-Lago. Now, this is one thing that I want to actually implant in people's minds right now, is because of the fact that the Republicans have now taken over the House. It's not showing on there, but Kevin McCarthy has already stood up, and he was the former leader of the Republicans in the House, and he's already stood up and said, okay, well, we've got this promise that we're going to be keeping with America and that kind of thing. The truth of the matter is that I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. What is it? Olympia Has Fallen or something like that. Is it Olympia Has Fallen?
Olympus.
Or White House Down? One of those movies. Olympus Has Fallen, right? And in that movie, you'll see that the president and the vice president have been taken hostage. And who takes over the control of the country? The Speaker of the House. That's Morgan Freeman. Morgan Freeman becomes the president of the temporary president of the United States. And so this thing has always been like a two-part plan for Trump, is that it's always been about trying to get his people in to the Congress, so that if he does run in 2024, he's going to have people to back him. Because the last time he did, not only did he have Democrats fighting against him, but he had people in his own party that wouldn't support him. But he was still able to get things done. This is why I'm saying that there's three parties. You've got the Democrats, you've got the Uniparty. These are the people who are working together. Schumer is actually working with McConnell, and they come up. That's how these bills are being passed into
Although
law.
to be fair, he's those two have always been oddly joined.
Yeah. So this is what the Uniparty basically. You got people who are Democrats, you got people who are Republicans. They're all working together. And then you've got the party that President Trump is trying to keep going. That's I would consider these people to be the patriots. They're the ones who want to have change, just like here in New Zealand. We want to see change, you know? And so the thing that I'm trying to tell you is that it's always been a two-part plan for President Trump in terms of like getting people that he wanted elected. And this is one of the reasons why it was smart for him to actually go and do all these 50 rallies that he did. Because to tell you the truth, like I said, 95% of those people are in. The narrative that people are carrying on right now saying that, oh, there's no red wave and they're trying to blame Trump for it. No, they shouldn't blame Trump. They should thank Trump because, to tell you the truth, they wouldn't have had so many victories had it not been for Trump. Because Trump's people who actually won. They're the majority of the wins that the Republicans had. So then the thing is now who's left? The reason why I mentioned this thing to you about the movie is because now that the Republicans have taken over the House, they have the opportunity to select who will be the Speaker of the House. Now, the great thing about it that most people don't understand is that the Speaker of the House does not have to be an elected person. These people who have taken control of the House, they can choose whoever they want to be the Speaker of the House. In other words, they can actually say, President Trump, would you be interested in being the Speaker of the House? And then once that takes place, if he does choose to go along that route, there's the possibility that he could wind up being a president, because what they most likely will wind up doing is they'll be sending investigations into these different people like Biden and all of these different things, because these are the things that they promised they would do if they took over the House. And I think that with President Trump's people in there, it's a good thing that that they have such a narrow margin. I think, you know, people were like, oh man, you know, you should have had like 40, 50. It should have been like a red wave. The truth of the matter is it's actually good for the conservative base that it's such a narrow margin, because if they stay together, it'll be just like the whole thing with what's his name when he was the kingmaker. You know, if Biden and them want to be able to do anything, they're going to have to go through this caucus.
So that's
which
really,
I think is called the Freedom Caucus.
Yeah, so I think that's really quite interesting what you've just said. And look, Clara's also, I totally agree with you, Clara. Clara's put out there, wowza, interesting for our Lima. Absolutely right. I think that's really fascinating. So it'll be really interesting to see perhaps if the Republicans have taken over the House, who they will put as a speaker. I think it's really interesting. And there's also that really interesting element, of course, with Nancy Pelosi and her husband.
That's the great thing is the witch is gone. So she's been booted
she was
out.
Shocking. You know what? She was absolutely shocking. She was really, really bad at her job. Very much not as bad as Trevor Mallard, but pretty bad, you know.
Can I also add this to just to tamper everyone, because I know I just said something really big, and like Claire just said about wowza and everything, and that's true. The truth of the matter is that, you know, we don't know if they're going to still continue to cheat. I mean, they're slow rolling these victories. I think they already have all the numbers and ballots and everything like that, but they're choosing to keep it back from the American people. Why? Because they want to take control of the narrative. And, you know, if they cheat, what they're going to do is they're going to try to look at how many ballots this person or that Masters has got, and they're going to try to bring in some new ballots. The only thing is that now all the people are aware of their tactics, but unfortunately, the people who are in charge of the elections are still the same people who were in charge of the elections in 2020. And as you know, there were things that happened in Maricopa County. I mean, how often is the same place going to be like a troublesome spot, you know? And so this is the thing, is that chain of custody of the ballots is so important, you know. So you know that saying by Stalin that says, and President Trump says this all the time in his rallies. It's not at some point the counter of the votes is more important than the candidate.
Right.
And basically, this is something that Stalin said, and that basically what it means is that, if you're in control of the elections, if you're in control of counting the ballots, you have a lot of power, because regardless as to whether the people voted for a specific person, you can actually influence or even change the result, because you're the one who's responsible for it. And this is the reason why people are so concerned about these delays in the counting. So
Okay.
all I got to say is that we're not out of the woods yet.
Yep. So I think it definitely is quite powerful. Really, really interesting. Also, from what I'm aware, from what I recall, I think that the group who were able to record the Pfizer executives, basically saying, or not basically, but saying that the Pfizer vaccinations were their biggest seller and how they were happy to make it, and that they were horrible. They really were quite horrible at doing things, and that they were basically a corporation of
made their billions
from their own mouths. And so that was Project Veritas. And Project Veritas also were the crew who managed to get hidden footage of the abortion industry and how it was basically being used for underage pimps, or pimps using for underage prostitutes, as well as being able to break a whole lot of myths. That was Project Veritas. So reports are that Project Veritas has hang on, I'll just hold up there. Project Veritas has also got reports out that they are filming some of the footage of what's going on in terms of the election, and especially the election quality. So I think that will be quite interesting when it comes up.
Yeah, I was just going to add to what you said about the abortion thing, because he went undercover as a pimp, and he had this lady who was like his prostitute or whatever. And that lady, believe it or not, that she was just a young girl at the time. That is who we call Lila Rose. That's Lila Rose, the person that's now like the head of one of the biggest
was that Lila Rose?
Pro-life.
Was she the actress?
Organization? Yeah, that's Lila Rose. She started out with what's his name? She's the one that went undercover with him, and they're the ones who went and they busted the abortion industry along those lines.
I think it's really cool. I also do note that the abortion. Yeah. That there's been a massive turnout of under 30-year-olds, and a lot of it is around that corralling around. So they've been told that, abortion is a woman's right and it's an attack on womanhood. And, so it seems interesting that those who are young are happy for trans women to take over their sports, take over their beauty pageants, to take over even their younger children's environments. But they don't mind the idea of being given the right to kill babies even up to their birth. So I think that's quite an interesting one, how the youth in America have sort of developed.
Yeah, so that was one point that I actually was thinking of actually making sure that I spoke on tonight, is the fact that this is why we need parents, if you're listening, this is why we need you to stand up and speak out and change the way these things are being conducted in the schools, because these are kids who, in the election, this is something that they found out that probably influenced the election as well. What they found out was there was a whole bunch of millennials who voted. And these millennials, they were all into this TikTok stuff. So that one of the things that the White House did, I don't know if you remember this, but Biden and Kamala Harris invited these TikTok influencers to come out to the White House and spend a day there, see what it's like and all this kind of stuff. And they would be like speaking on their TikTok thing or their YouTube thing and speaking to their followers. And that's who they got to come out. Those people came out. And this is why it's important, because when they had the exit polls, they did not think, and when they had the polling, they did not think to actually poll that group. That group was invisible because they did not realize that this was happening. But this is obviously part of the Democrat strategy. I remember looking at these guys with going out to to the White House and doing all of these TikTok and YouTube stuff, and it was all like, what are these guys are crazy, you know? But now we see why they did that. They did that to get those votes from that group of people. And these people have been brainwashed from the time that they were young all the way until now. They're adults now. Well, they're young adults, and they believe in all the stuff that they were lied to about. They believe that they believe in transgenderism, and they believe in all of this CRT stuff. They believe that the United States is a bad country, that the country was founded on slavery, all of these different things that these people are being taught. And then also they're being taught that my body, my choice, and that these people have been oppressed, that women have been oppressed to give birth to babies. And they don't even think, man, you should be thankful that your mom didn't abort you, man. How is it that you're alive and you're deciding to kill that other baby that hasn't had the same chance or opportunity that you had? That was just something I wanted to say.
No, fair enough. So, any last, Liao, do you have any last thoughts about the US election? Oh, she's gone. Woo! She fell off. Maybe she got offended. At something you said. Hey, but no, you're absolutely right.
Something I said.
Right.
Come on.
And I think that you've actually brought up some really, really cool points, actually. I'm really curious to see if the situation with Trump, I mean, man, that would be really interesting if they did that. I'll tell you what, it was really interesting. So we've got some cool little bits in there. Ross has come up there. I'm not sold on DeSantis. There are many conservatives hesitating to support him fully. Okay, that's fair enough. So that's an interesting one going on over there. All right. Clara has got in there as well. My body, my choice, only if it's abortion, but not the jab. Yes. Yes, indeed. So I think that's also quite interesting. Oh, there she is. Liao, we're about to finish up on our area around the midterm elections. I think it was really, really good. And don't forget, so audience, our crew out there, we'll make sure, I'm going to put this up before we finish up as well, just so you give us an update for any sort of seats that have been added into. Liao, do you have any last thoughts on the midterm elections?
Not really. It's been really interesting to listen to you both tonight. I'm not as involved as probably I should be, since my husband is American, and so are my boys. But he's more concerned about what's happening in New Zealand. So, because it's this is where the country we're living in. Great to hear though, because whatever happens in America always filters down to New Zealand, whether we like it or not. So keep praying for this. There could be a breakthrough. You never know.
Tracy's come up with a really interesting one. Did the same with the Weimar Republic youth, weaponizing next generation ugly stuff. Yeah, I think the progressives are doing that. My thought is that the progressives really are. They are focusing on the children, trying to radicalize them, make them into some ideological terrorists and flood them out there. And it is fascinating to see what is going on there too. So let's, because you've got the two system over there. They don't have multiple parties. They don't have multiple parties. They've got two parties. That is Republican and Democrat. I was listening
independence.
And independence. I was listening to some of the talkback going on today and over the last few days, and in New Zealand, it's really it's been annoying me a bit, because they're talking about America does not have a multi-party like New Zealand, as if it was a great thing. But they're forgetting that the system that we have in New Zealand was gutted. So when we had MMP first come up in the 90s, the politicians themselves gutted it out and changed the way it was going to be done, so that they would be in power, so that no other party would be able to join. And now is exactly what's happened. So I do note that, as well as the fact that Kiwis do not really, we struggle to think outside of the two main parties, even though when talking with them, they hate what both parties are doing. I would love for us to bring in a couple of things. One, of course, is I love the idea of the what's it called? The binding referendum. I love the citizens-initiated binding referendum, but that I have had some very strong information about the fact that the politicians utterly hate that. Out of all of the things that they hate, one of the biggest things that they hate is the citizens-initiated binding referendum. They hate it, and so they fight it at every that they can get. No parliamentary party has ever advocated for a binding citizens-initiated referendum. None. The other one that I would love to see is, I'm trying to think of what it's called, but I think it's STV, or you vote for one party. If that party's not going to get it, then that slots into the next party. And so that means that there is no such thing as a wasted vote. And so they vote for one party. If that doesn't get in, then they've got like two other choices after that. And I think that would be a wonderful way. But the politicians that we have in New Zealand, unfortunately, are very strongly against it. So it's quite fascinating in that angle as well. I also do want to bring up that there is news, there's rumors and there's news. So there's news that we've got now a fifth jab in the wheels of motion, that there is a fifth jab. And so that is a third booster, I believe. Is that right? That we're on the third booster? Okay. So the third booster is there. And this comes at the same time, or rather in a late stage where you've got mainstream media starting to bring out their experts and their mouthpieces again, talking about how the COVID numbers are going up again, and we are starting to see more problems, and COVID is all back and all that sort of stuff. So what are your thoughts about that? Are we going to have another lockdown? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think? What do you think, Nelia?
I think that it will actually come down to the people. I think it's time for the people to, we've almost had a what you call a reprieve, and people are feeling like it's semi going back to normal. But understand something: when people are trying to take control and they have control, there's no way they're going to let it go. We see that already in Queensland, with them pumping it up now to the amber light, and so we have to look at that, because that's our neighbouring country. If they are doing that, then what's going to happen here in New Zealand is if there's more and more experts speaking out about it,
Wow.
More fear is going to come out, and it just won't surprise me. So we really need to, as a people, go, this is actually enough. No more of this. No more of, this vaccine. Because what they're going to say is that the vaccinated will become unvaccinated if they don't take the booster, and if they get injured from it, it'll be the unvaccinated that are injured. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's going to be a really confusing time for people, and of course they'll be fearful, and masks will come back. We'll go through the cycle again.
Fuiava, what do you think?
Well, I was at the store earlier today, and I was looking at these folks who had masks on, and I was wondering what's going on. The majority of the people at the store didn't have masks, but there was quite a few people who had masks, and so I was starting to think, did the government say something about wearing masks again? And now that you said that, now that everyone has said what we said throughout this entire time, it's, you got to put up or shut up. This is important. This is very important for all of us to stand up. If you've been standing for your rights throughout this reprieve, then you need to continue doing that now that they try to force it back onto us. This is where the rubber hits the road. It's one thing to say it, and it's another thing to actually back it up.
Yeah, fair enough. I tend to agree a lot. Leo, I do agree with you. I think this is going to be up to the people. I think that we don't have many politicians that we can trust in Parliament. I think Simon O'Connor is pretty much it. I don't trust any one of the acts. David Seymour, if people trusted him, then I'm sorry, but that's on them. But in terms of people who are true to the core values of New Zealand, the Patriots, the Conservatives, it's Simon O'Connor. Simeon Brown is there as well. But as a stalwart defender, I would put Simon O'Connor as there strongly. But this will come down to the people again. Are we our people? If our people stand up, if our people make a voice and just make sure that we don't comply and also make their voices heard, I think that's going to be a great thing. So we know that Australia and New Zealand are quite similar in terms of progressivism. Australia is a little bit healthier. Their people stand up more. Their people stand up. Our people stand up, and they've made very nice, loud, strong movements. We just need more of our people to stand up. But actually, no, our people stand up quite strongly, and so I'm really happy about that. Mere has actually brought up a point here. What about Matt King? Matt King is not in Parliament, but I really do like him. Mere, I do. I agree with you. Yep, fair enough. Matt King will be there. Matt King will defend those rights of Kiwis to choose whether or not to get the jab. I absolutely agree with that. And I do. I really like him. I like him, and I like Lee. That's the person that he has announced for that party. So we'll see what's going on there. While we are talking about also Matt King, tonight there have been a few of the parties are starting up their by-election attempt, and that's also, I believe that is Jade Lynn with I believe that's the FRC, Freedom Rights Coalition. And I'm not sure if I'm right or wrong, or it could be Vision Party. I apologize if I'm getting it wrong. Then you've also got New Conservative matching up with One Party. That's with Rudy Deploy. So my understanding is that those two are having their start of the journey tonight. So be interesting. I was in Hamilton over the last few days, and yes, I've also seen Dr. Sharma's hot pink billboards already up and over the electorate. Well, good on him. I think and it's interesting because Dr. Sharma is on the left. I don't know if he's a progressive, so I don't know if he's a woke, but he is definitely on the left. So I'm not sure how pushing that is in that environment. So I think that's quite strong as well. But yeah, so whoo! We spoke about the midterms as really a huge amount there, actually. So let's just have a quick look here. I just want to bring this up here, see what's going on. What's our latest? All right, so updated. It's now updated at 9:41. So this is 1 minute to go. 1 minute to go. All right, so nothing's changed so far. Democrats 192, Republicans 211. Awesome.
Remember the numbers I said.
Yep.
Democrats
211 for Republicans,
224,
and
yeah.
You said about 211 for the Democrats.
Yeah, so it's 224. If it's 211, it's going to be 224. It has to be because there's only 335 seats.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So
well, look, if they keep it up, I think that'll be really awesome.
Yeah, and the so this is what I can see what's going to take place based on these calculations. Now, unless of course cheating does take place, then those calculations mean nothing. But based on the calculations that are still out there, Kari Lake should become the governor of Arizona, and the reason why Kari Lake is going to become the governor of Arizona is because of the fact that the ballots that are outstanding that have yet to be counted are from those areas that are very strong conservative Republican areas. And they're also same day votes. Whereas a lot of the other stuff that they've counted so far has been mail-in ballots. Unless they have more outstanding mail-in ballots, like they say, oh, these other ballots are coming in too, that we just didn't count. See, that's how they did with President Trump in 2020. But if everything stays the same, then Kari Lake should be the governor of Arizona. Blake Masters, if you're going to vote, see, this is why it's important that and why it didn't make any sense when President Trump wasn't elected, because President Trump was not elected as president of the United States in 2020, but the people that are a part of the Republican Party were all in there, and these are the people who got in on his coattails. And this is the same thing with the way people look at Kari Lake and Blake Masters. If you're voting for Kari Lake, most likely you're voting for Blake Masters as the Senate candidate. So if she gets these many votes, those votes are also going to go for Blake Masters. That's how you calculate how these things work. And so I'm saying that Blake Masters should be the senatorial candidate in Arizona. Kerry Lake should be the governor of Arizona when all is said and done. The Mark Fincher should be the Secretary of State of Arizona, and Hamden should be the Attorney General. So that's 4. So in a sense, there's been a red wave. This is all not yet, but it's in the future, and they're still counting. And as long as there's a delay in tactics in the counting of the votes, there's still a concern that there could possibly be some type of a steal in the election. However, Nevada is also another one. The governor in Nevada should be a Republican, and also the state senator should also be Republican. So that just leaves, when we're talking about the Senate now, that just leaves Alaska, which will definitely be a Republican, because the two people who are going against each other right now at this point in time are both Republicans. So either one that wins is going to be a Republican seat. So that's taken care of. So then the only last one is Georgia. And that's Herschel Walker in Georgia against Warnock. I forget what his first name is. Anyway, that election is upcoming. It's going to be a runoff between the two of them. And we anticipate that that it will be a Republican seat, because Herschel Walker will win. So
awesome. Alrighty. Wow. Okay. So that's some awesome sort of stuff. That's a great chat. Thank you, Fuiava. It's been great to sort of pick your brain. You've got a huge amount of knowledge there, and I'm sure I speak for everyone when I say that we've learned a lot more about the US politics as well. So I think that was really, really interesting. Yeah, Liao, do you have any last thoughts before we finish up for tonight?
I'm just always live in hope. And I think our battle is not as physical as spiritual.
Yeah, that's right.
So if there's any change that you want, and this is to the audience, is get on your knees and pray and ask God to change it, because He's the only one that really can. So awesome. Miracles still happen today. So that's all I wanted to say. And blessings.
Well,
amen.
Awesome. So we'll finish off. I'll do a bit of the prayer, and then we'll get going. So, dear Lord, thank you so much for our time tonight. Thank you so much for helping us learn more. Father, I pray also that whatever happens in the US is part of your great design, and that you help us to strengthen and be ready to fight here in New Zealand, that we are able to stand for our democracy, our freedom and rights. And Lord, we also pray for all of our ancestors, our tupuna, who fought in wars. As on this day in Armistice, we remember on the 11th hour of the 11th day, the guns of World War I finally went silent. So, Lord, we thank you for all the sacrifices of our people yesterday, that we may have our today and our future. So, Lord, we give everyone up. We pray that you bless those who are watching, and we just pray for a great time. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right.
Yeah, one last thing, brother. Happy birthday.
Woo.
Happy birthday to the US Marines. The US Marine Corps is now 247 years old.
I'll remind Doug that, because he's an ex-Marine.
Yes. Tell him.
Hey, what's the US Marine?
Happy birthday, Jarhead.
Hey.
Jarhead.
All right.
Yeah.
God bless everyone. We'll see you soon.
Yeah.
Good night.